Taxes 101 with Cathy Waller, 5th of October 2022.
Hello, I'm Cathy. My pronouns are she, her. I am a white woman in my early 30s, I'm going to say. I am in a light grey hoodie with a big hood around my neck, which I think I was wearing the other day on this session. And my brown hair is in a top knot, and I am on a blurred background because of the mess behind me, which I also declared the other day as well. I got a lot of requests from friends who were self-employed to help them with their taxes, just because I really enjoyed numbers and sort of working out how to do it. And over the last 15 years, that's sort of grown into helping people do their tax returns and then creating workshops for artists so that I can help other people to understand what it's all about and how it works.
Defining self-employment.
Self-employment, the differences is that you are most likely freelance, which means you work for lots of different people or different companies, and you'll most likely be signing contracts. So it could be that if you're working for my company, I would contract you for 2 months to do a job. Or you could be working for East London Dance as a teacher, and they might contract you for a 6-month period to do a job, to teach classes, under being self-employed. So you do not have an employer if you're self-employed. You're your own boss, essentially. If East London Dance contract you to do a teaching job, but under self-employment, so it's freelance, East London Dance, in the legal sense, are technically not your employer. They're pretty much your client, essentially. Like, they're the people that are paying you to do a job. But in the legal HMRC sense, they're not your employer. If you're self-employed, you're responsible for paying your tax and national insurance. So you have to pay it every year to the lovely HMRC. You normally will have to invoice to get paid. So normally you have to write an invoice, which is a document that has the amount you're charging, the details about it, your bank details, lots of bits and pieces. So normally you have to give an invoice to get paid. You also need to really keep track of getting paid. Unlike PAYE, if you didn't get paid 1 month for PAYE, that's a very unusual occurrence. Like, yes, it does happen occasionally, but it'll be a pretty big deal if you're on a PAYE and you didn't get paid. However, self-employment's a little bit different, and there's a little bit more flex in payments. Sometimes organisations and individuals aren't great at paying on time, so you need to keep track of who's paid you, when they've paid you. Is something outstanding? The other delightful thing about self-employment is that you can claim expenses. Expenses are business costs. They're not free things, but expenses are costs that you have to pay to run your business. So a part of my job is running tax workshops for artists. In order to do that, I need to have an internet connection. I need to have a laptop. I have a notepad next to me. I have a phone in case Gemma needs to text me. I have access to a toilet and water and a hot drink, which is here. I have access to all those things because in order for me to earn the money to do this workshop, I need to have all these things. And those are expenses. So they're expenses, business running costs. And we're going to go through lots of things that are classified as expenses later.
How to register as self-employed.
It's not super difficult. You can do it online. If you Google register as self-employed, there's 2 stages to it. One, you have to open a government gateway ID, which online will take you through, and then you register as self-employment. And everyone's given something called a UTR, which is a unique tax reference number. And that number stays with you basically forever. It's your self-employment, your business number.
What you need to pay.
There are 3 pots you have to pay: tax, National Class 2 and National Class 4. So all self-employed people, if you earn enough, pay those three pots. So it's not just tax. I think people use taxes as a broad sense that encompasses all of those national insurances. But if we're going to learn about it today, it's three things: tax, national class 2, national class 4. They all go towards lots of things, as you probably know, but it pays for things like NHS, free healthcare. It fixes lights on our roads, schools, subsidises things, and also probably goes towards a lot of things we don't agree with. But that's where the tax and national insurance go.
Explaining the tax year.
So unfortunately, our tax years are April to April. They are not January to January, which makes it very annoying. And I feel like everyone's annoyed about it. But that is unfortunately what it is.
An example.
So all your money's come in. You might have got a commission or a grant, which might not all be your pay. You might be paying dancers or producers or creatives, but all that money's come in your tax year, and you've made, well, your turnover is £20,000. It's unlikely to be a very beautifully round number like that, but for the example, it's £20,000. You then are adding up all your expenses and they come to £5,000. So all your business costs have come to £5,000. So your profit, which your tax is worked out on, is actually £15,000. All the money coming in, 20k. Your expenses add up to 5k. We take that away and your profit is £15,000. So your taxable income, i.e. the amount that we're working out how much tax you owe, is on your profit and not your turnover.
Things you can't expense.
The devastating one for dancers, which does make me laugh a lot, is you can't expense your rehearsal clothes. So like all those Adidas trackies that like you've got, you can't expense it. And I'm so sorry about it. Like, so if you want to spend £80 on some epic Adidas joggers to wear in rehearsals, you can't expense it. And the reason why you can't is because they say, well, if you're PAYE and you work in an office and you have to wear smart workwear, that company doesn't pay for that. You just have to have that. And it's the same with us. So like if you need certain clothes to rehearse in or go to a meeting in, you can't expense that. Food and drink to entertain clients for meetings, you can't do. If you're a limited company, you can't do it. If you're a sole trader, they've changed the rules on it. So if I'm like, hey Gemma, I've got an idea for something, can I take you for a coffee? And Gemma's like, of course, Cathy, that sounds wonderful. I can buy Gemma a coffee, absolutely, but I can't use it as a business expense. I can't do that. I can buy it, but I just can't use it as a business expense. However, if East London Dance as a company have an event and they buy food and drink for audiences, they can, that is a legitimate business expense because they are a company and it's a different thing. But self-employed people, you can't do it. If you jump on the tube and you jump over the barriers, which we never do, and you get a fine, that's not a business expense, even if you're going to work, it doesn't matter. Bank fines, overdraft fees, can't do it. And a blanket one that's difficult for self-employed artists is gym memberships. You cannot expense a gym membership. Can you expense a Pilates class you go to once a week as a dancer or director? Yeah. I would say that's legitimate. There's just a blanket rule on monthly gym memberships, and that's because PAYE companies don't have to provide people with free gym memberships. So it's like a similar thing.
These are tips created to help you get started on taxes based on information on self-employed tax returns in the financial year 2021 to 22. Please do check on the latest information and guidelines on the gov.uk website. Clickable link is in the description below. With thanks to Cathy Waller, Artistic Director and CEO, Cathy Waller Company. Rise Again is co-designed and co-produced by members and alumni of the Fi.ELD, the future innovators of East London Dance, young producers trying to create theatre, and dance ambassadors of One Dance UK. Video edited by Ben Hewis. Rise Again is supported by Arts Council England, Esme Fairbairn Foundation and Paul Hamlin Foundation.